Good morning. Today, 21st August 2024, we are going to discuss editorials. We'll be taking from Hindu, even Times of India, Indian Express, some of the articles also. First article from Hindu. This article talks about a ground plan for sustainable mass employment in a country where unemployment is growing. Recently you have seen in Bangladesh where youth had come on streets and then they have demonstrated against the government, and ultimately Sheikh Hasina's Army League party had to resign from the power, and then she had to flee from the country to rescue her life. In order to avoid such a kind of issues, unemployment is a growing issue in India. So author gives many such points. We'll discuss in this article. In this budget 24-25, there were 5 major employment related schemes that were very awesome. That's what author says. The schemes are to have ambitious target of 2 lakh crore outlay of spread over 5 years for facilitating jobs, even skilling for opportunities for 4.1 crore youth in the country. Economic survey also pointed out several issues. It has pointed out for employment, even asked private sector to create jobs. Why private sector? Because there is a lower taxes on the private sector since 2019. Even private sector obtained higher profits post COVID-19 pandemic. Prime Minister package for employment. This must be seen with along other initiatives such as human well-being. There is an evidence-based roadmap for sustainable mass employment with dignity that must begin by recognizing first thing the wages. Because there are unlimited unskilled workers available in India. If you see, India is the youngest country. However, the skill set available to the people is very low. Let us also not forget periodic labor force in 2019. They had found out that wage earner is in the top percent, top 10%. See, wage earner is in the top 10%. Suppose 100 people are there, 10 people are earning 25,000 per month, then only he will go for job. Otherwise, he will not go. That's what author says. There should be some long-term placement, long-term contract, so that they live with dignity. They live with such a job. In order to survive in highly commercial areas such as in urban areas with such a meager amount of salary, they cannot even sustain. They need to pay huge amount of rent, and then cost of living also very high. So this 25,000 or less than 25,000 is very difficult task for staying them. So they feel just go home, go rural area, then work in the agriculture. Then it leads to disguised unemployment. Even consumption is the highest in states such as Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Himachal Pradesh, Goa and Sikkim. These states have done on better human development indicators. If you see, every time human development indicators will be released, these states always perform very better. Odisha, this pushed very hard for skilling. They have very low per capita consumption in case of higher and secondary vocational opportunities in the institutions. Mass employment with dignity requires productivity increase. While it is fine for economic survey to urge private sector to create jobs, government need to understand state also has a role in determining a floor rate of wages, even assuring high quality of public goods. There is a need for evidence. Public employment per unit of the population in India is much lower than what it is in the most of the developed world. What should be the key policy initiative in creating sustainable mass employment with dignity be, right? So what author basically says is, human development indicators are very good, but when it comes to skill, people are having very low skill. Even governments are pushing. Government in economic survey, even many of the forums, they have indicated private sector must push for jobs, but private sector, they are profit related oriented one. So government must bring laws. Government basically they are the lawmakers, right? They should come up with policy so that employment opportunities will be created with the minimum support wages. First thing for skilling we need to do, first thing what author says, begin from decentralized community action for skilling upliftment. Ownership by community in the state programs, it will come through direct community action. there are gram sabhas are there, or even basti samiti in urban areas. They can play a critical role in taking government programs to the people. Several kind of steps can be followed, right? Create a register of all those requiring employment or self-employment. Create a plan for every youth in partnership with professional at the cluster level. Even well educated professionals are needed on fixed term appointment at the local government level. So this will ensure evidence based outcomes. This should become basis for finding skill providers and employers also. Even apprenticeship too, they themselves should be connected with community. This result will give a transformational outcomes. And then in second, what author says, coverage initiative for education, health, skills, nutrition, livelihood, even employment should be with women collectives. This will ensure community accountability with united funds. If you combine fund, functionary, and functions, everything at one location, it will lead to quality outcomes. Now, one scheme called for younger people, another scheme called for older people. These kind of issues will create a lot of nuisance. If you combine all these things, one cluster based initiative will definitely help in getting good employment outcomes. All human development indicators will achieve better then they devolve and converge, right? United funds are transformational as community make more effective choices. India's failure in public goods, what are the public goods? Education, health, nutrition, environment, even sanitation. This can improve. So there is such approach. We need to put more money in these sectors through decentralized community action. Third thing, what author says, introduce a need-based vocational course certification program alongside undergraduate programs. He will give examples such as BA, BSc, even BCom also. This has been done in the past. Colleges, it should be made compulsory. We need to give resources to the colleges for the experimentation. For example, what author says, there are some colleges in Mumbai that provide certificate courses such as tourist guide, counselor, and so on. This will greatly improve employment on scale, even make graduation programs employable. Fourth thing, what author says, standardize nursing and allied healthcare professional courses in all state according to international benchmarks. Nurses, geriatric care services, even health paramedics, they are required on scale in and outside of India. The biggest problem is that uneven quality of institution, absence of standardized course curriculum and duration. We need to standardize these skills to set international standards. They can go and get employed on themselves. Fifth area, community cadres of caregivers. They should run creches. What is creche? Suppose say some employees are working in an organization, let us say public sector organization. They have kids, right? Kids are born. They have maternity leaves for 6 months, and after that they have to join the duty to take care of the children and kids. These creches will be run. So there should be community cadres of these creches universally, so that women can work without fear. We have 4 to 6 hours Anganwadi service presently. Anganwadi areas, already people will be there for 4 to 6 hours. But number of infants is more than what creche caregiver can manage in Anganwadi areas. We need to create a community cadre of creche caregivers. They can be paid by local government or women collectives after intensive training. The community resource person of this rural livelihood mission RLM is a good model to follow. Community cadre can have multiple livelihoods in agriculture, animal rearing, even non-farming activities in retail shops also. This will generate income at both levels. Sixth area, we need to invest huge in industrial training institutes. There are polytechnic courses are there. These polytechnics can become hub in skill development for feeder schools. Absence of quality and up-to-date infrastructure in many of these ITIs, polytechnics, and even rural self-employment training institutes. This is very critical gap in age of upskilling and reskilling also. Institutions have to become autonomous and even community managed. These technical institutions can work as a hub for feeder schools. School must develop equivalent framework for academic even vocational inputs in terms of credit and hours. The focus should be state and districts with least institutional structure for vocational education. Two states, author has given example, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, they have large capacity that has helped manufacturing in those states. Human capital matters. Today, India is the youngest population. When we don't utilize their services, it will go in vain. Some of our even manpower they are going outside of the country. This is called brain drain. In order to prevent that, in order to make country Viksit Bharat by 2047, we need to take all these steps. Seventh step, enterprise and startup skills. This should be imparted in from the school level itself. School need to introduce the technology, even enterprise. This is a subject in upper primary and higher school onwards. It is important for experimentation, innovation with understanding of the business processes in the regular school curriculum. Visit by professional to schools. This can impart finishing skills to students, employment enterprises as follows. Today you can see IIMs, Indian Institute of Management, where they teach business course studies. There are several CEOs will come and then they will teach student about how business is running. Such a kind of working by government through these CEOs in the rural areas will definitely encourage students in developing the skills. Eighth area, what author says, they should develop a co-sharing model of apprenticeship with industry on scale. This will definitely very critical as far as manufacturing sector opportunities, even in the service sector is also concerned. Skilling cost must be shared by potential employers as standalone government funding is not always best way forward. Unless industry has a stake in apprenticeship, it does not work. We know corporate social responsibility, government provides huge amount of money, even industrial sector they provide huge amount of money under corporate social responsibility. This amount can be utilized for apprenticeship model. This can definitely help in skilling, reskilling, upskilling to the all the apprentices. Ninth area, working capital must be given to women-led enterprises. You might have seen self-help groups, Kudumbasri model from Kerala, where women operates self-help groups. They make a lot of biscuits. Even they do a lot of community services. By empowering women, by providing the capital financial assistance, this will become a huge empowerment to the women. Even there are lessons from Lakpati Didis from Rural Livelihood Mission. We need to understand what are the challenges emerging from such schemes. By integrating our channel and energy in this direction, we will definitely work to evolve and promote a good policy. There is a Reserve Bank of India. They are promoting innovation hub. Even National Rural Livelihood Mission also, they are trying to come up with innovation solutions to give confidence to bank so that they can lend on higher scales. Success of Startup Village Enterprise Program SVVP under National Rural Livelihood Mission, they brings importance of handholding, community enterprise fund and even end-to-end solution for first generation entrepreneurs. Start 10th area, what author says is universal skill accreditation program for skill providing institution and state and industry, they should jointly sponsor candidates for courses. These skill providers, they can be accredited after rigorous assessment process. Candidate can be co-sponsored by the state and employers. This will reduce burden on the state and then at the same time employers can get easily employ people and then they can skill them. 11th area, you know already, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, Manrega. 70% of the fund, they are being used in 2,500 water scarce blocks and even these blocks with high deprivation. This gives poorest 20 families. Individual beneficiaries under this scheme, they allow livelihood security through income generating schemes such as animal shed, irrigation works, work shed and so on. These things will help them to gain automatic and alternate employment in the rural area. Then focusing skill for higher productivity of this Manrega scheme, this will improve their wage earning capacity. Better wage rates will definitely help them to live with dignity in these poor regions. 12th area, what author says is about apprenticeship. Nowadays, apprentices join under National Apprenticeship Act in a lot of the industrial sectors. So they gain stipend of almost 25,000 to 30,000 rupees. However, they have not holding accountability. They are not given accountability. They just come and go. By skilling them, by employing good initiatives, we can definitely work out in these areas. This is very good article. Author gives almost 12 points about employment scheme. Pradhan Mantri has in this budget given prime minister package for employment. In this budget they have talked extensively about the employment initiative and to remove the unemployment. So this issue is very important from even what is happening in our neighborhood also. The situation which happened in Bangladesh, the same situation should not happen in India too. So in a country where aspiring to become $30 trillion economy by 2047, such a kind of initiatives should be taken so that our employees and our workforce they grow at larger scale and make India great again. Next article we will talk about Jammu Kashmir. Jammu Kashmir, basically this article discusses about in 2019 Bharatiya Janata Party led government they brought up Article 370. Article 370 they removed Article 370 and by abolishing the autonomous status of Jammu Kashmir. Then Jammu Kashmir is bifurcated into two parts, Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh region. Jammu Kashmir made union territory with legislature and Ladakh made as a union territory. At the time Supreme Court told the decision is correct and even told to conduct elections to Jammu Kashmir Assembly by September 2024. So Election Commission of India, which is election conducting body for entire country, they have visited Jammu Kashmir for 2 times. Now elections are going to happen in the month of September in this year 2024. This is very welcome move. That's what author says. There were several dramatic instances happened before abrogation of Article 370. What were they? There are several parties in Jammu Kashmir, National Conference Party, People's Democratic Party, even Bharatiya Janata Party. So national in 2014 elections, BJP won majority of the seats in Jammu area. Even Jammu Kashmir Valley area, most of the seats won by Congress and its allies such as NCP. So People Democratic Party and BJP formed the government, but the alliance could not work out. Eventually, BJP and PDP broke out, and then BJP brought in 2019 this abrogation of Article 370. So now what author says is this election should be conducted. Why? Because recent Lok Sabha elections in the Jammu Kashmir, almost 50% and more people have participated in the electoral area. They have casted. This is the first time highest electoral voter participation in the Jammu Kashmir region. This is very welcome move. People are coming. Since 2014 onwards, their assembly has been suspended. It's almost been decade, so that people voices and then the people concerns have been not addressed. When elected representatives are not there, people voice cannot be heard. And then even author says many of the opposition parties have put up in jails. In order to concern all these things, immediately elections need to be conducted, and then people their voices need to be heard. And also at the end, author concludes, in order to maintain peace in our northernmost border of India, we need to maintain electoral participation and we need to form inclusive government so that voice of the people can be heard. This is this entire article about. That's what author discusses. Next article, it discusses about neglecting the healthcare sector, and then we need to look at this healthcare sector also. There are two main highlight things from budget 2024-5 in considering macroeconomic stability standpoint of view. One area where government focusing more on fiscal consolidation. Second area, there should be continuous improvement in the quality of expenditure. Budget, there is a disappointment in the healthcare spending because they have budgeted only 0.3% of GDP. This was same as the last year whatever budgeted. Author along with a few other authors, they have carried out one study, evolution of the healthcare policy framework in India. They suggest that there is a relative neglect of health care in India from pre-independent India. There is an in-depth report submitted by Bhor committee. You remember this committee? pre-independence Bohr committee was appointed. They submitted a report. They pointed a grim picture of country's health landscape, even poor infrastructure in Indian healthcare sector also. Committee gave wide range of recommendation, and even it included universal health coverage. This name was not mentioned at that time, but basically it implies all access to quality healthcare services without incurring financial hardship in country. Almost yesterday we discussed one article about income inequality. 1% of the population, right? Country is 1% of the population holding 40% of the income, whereas 99% of the population holding almost 60% of the income. There is a huge income variation is there. Such a kind of diversities need to be removed. So national health policy or national universal health care, what it does, it provides access to healthcare services to everyone, so that today private sector, they are money minded, they are corporate minded, so they are charging a lot, so that where poor resident, they cannot go to hospital, they have to live in this vicious cycle. They get poor, they cannot have money, they will go to government hospital, they will get very less services, and eventually in order to get good healthcare they will borrow money from there, then they have to take interest. This kind of cycle keep going and going. This is called vicious cycle. In order to come out of these things, in order to improve the productivity of the people, health of the people, we need to have this universal health care. The same thing was recommended by Bohr committee also. The key recommendation committee they gave was national health system. It should be focusing on rural focused primary, even secondary healthcare infrastructure. This should be financed by government. The report also, the report came in pre-independence India time. It was well ahead of its time. Still today we are discussing about universal healthcare and then its impact on the economic growth also. India faced multiple challenges since independence. There was widespread poverty in India, even high morbidity and comorbidities, even mortality was also big issue. Our economy was very fragile, and then our economy at that time could not able to afford this national health system recommended by the Bohr committee. For more than decades after independence, India remained under several communicable diseases, even immunization to its population. You might have seen Kolkata, many of the people died because of lot of healthcare issues. Even India, several of the places they have died. In 1980, Government of India come up with one comprehensive framework policy for healthcare services. They have put up first policy name known as National Health Policy. It was announced in 1983. What was given? They announced that health for all, it is good thing. But interestingly, the policy told that government spending must be reduced on healthcare. They told and they even suggested that private sector must come up and then take care of this national health policy. Private healthcare sector, since then the issues happened, they have become very corporatized, and then they cannot provide services to everyone. This national health policy 1983, it was replaced in even 2002, and later even 2017 also it was replaced as National Health Policy 2017. In 2005 there was a flagship healthcare program, National Rural Health Mission NRHM. It was launched, but later it was taken under National Health Mission NHM. What author says is from 2002, 2017, even from National Health Mission, there are two common threads that are running from these things. One thing, raise public health spending to 2.3% of our GDP, 2 to 3%, and even develop a primary healthcare infrastructure. Excluding water supply and sanitation, public health spending that stagnated around 1% of GDP for almost 30 years up to 2019-20, and then in 23-24 it came around almost 1.4% of the GDP due to increased health spending by states, going up from 0.7% to 1.7%. See, consider, you can see the history here. Almost for 30 years we maintained only 1% of the GDP till 2019 and 20. In 23-24 we have maintained at 1.4% of the GDP. But National Health Policy in 2017, they recommended in order to provide good healthcare to everyone, even universal health coverage, we need to maintain the target of 2.5% of the GDP. 23-24, states have budgeted only 6.2% of their total expenditure on health. But National Health Policy in 2017 told them to spend at least 8%. Even economically well states such as Maharashtra, Karnataka, Punjab, they have spent very less on healthcare compared to economically not well off state such as Meghalaya. They spent a record level 8.6% as recommended by National Health Policy 2017. Even Uttar Pradesh also slightly low, but 7.3% they have spent. So why all these numbers? Whether we need to remember or not? No, you need to understand the what is happening. The thread. Country has made good progress in improving the demographic indicators, but primary healthcare infrastructure continues to be inadequate. As of July 2022, there was significant shortfall of almost 25% of subcenters, 31% of the primary healthcare centers, even 36% of the community healthcare centers in rural area. Let it alone. Even in urban areas also, primary healthcare center they fell short by 40%. There was even shortfall of specialists as high as 80% in rural community healthcare centers, even 47% in urban community healthcare centers. India lags many of its peers in Universal Health Coverage Index. World Health Organization every year it releases Universal Health Coverage Index. India's score is 63.3 in 2021. But when we compare with China, China stands at 81, Brazil stands at 80.4, Malaysia stands at 76, even Mexico they stand at 74.5. So India is lacking very low in this Universal Health Coverage Index. This inadequate universal health coverage leaves a significant section of the population vulnerable to health spending and then impoverishment also. Many of the people coming from rural areas, even poverty related backgrounds are. So these people will be well affected because of the lack of money and then they're living in the vicious cycle. Even research in the international context suggests public spending on healthcare need to be raised at least 5% of GDP for achieving this universal health coverage objective. So it is clear, it is highly important to increase public health spending in time-bound manner. Central and state government they need to raise healthcare spending by at least 0.2% GDP every year over the next 8 years. What happens when you increase 0.2% of GDP every year over the next 8 years? Then we can achieve the target of 3% of GDP in the 8 years. So then average public health spending on GDP to low even middle income countries also. Once this stage is reached, next would be public health spending should be gradually to be raised to 5% of GDP. This is about a healthcare sector. Today this much only. Thank you very much for the discussion.